All right, let's talk about BRICS. You've probably heard the name, but this group of global powers is seriously reshaping our world. The big question is, are they building a real blueprint for the future, or is this whole project just destined to fall apart? Let's get into it. I mean, just really think about that for a second. A world where countries like Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa are calling the shots, deciding the future of trade, tech, and global politics. This isn't some sci-fi movie plot. This is the exact future that BRICS is trying to build right now.
Okay, so what exactly is BRICS, and how did this whole thing even get started? To understand that, we've got to rewind a little bit.
Now here's the fascinating part. BRICS didn't start as some grand political project. It actually began as a catchy acronym in a report from a Goldman Sachs economist. Yep, a guy named Jim O'Neill was just pointing out that these four countries, Brazil, Russia, India, and China, were on track to basically run the global economy by 2050.
But that little economic forecast, it took on a life of its own. By 2009, these countries were actually holding official summits. Then, in 2010, South Africa came on board, adding the S to BRICS. So, in less than 20 years, a simple Wall Street buzzword turned into a very real, very serious international group.
Which brings us to the most important question of all. Why? Why did these specific countries feel the need to team up in the first place? What was really driving them? Well, for decades, the global system has been run by a pretty small club. Think about it. The head of the IMF is, by tradition, always a European. The head of the World Bank, always an American. And on the UN Security Council, the most powerful group of all, entire continents like Africa and Latin America don't have a single permanent seat. For nations like Brazil or India, this setup felt, well, pretty unfair. Here's a good way to picture it. If global politics is a big classroom, the West has been sitting in the front row, raising its hand and answering every question for a long, long time. BRICS is basically the group of students in the back who finally stood up and said, hey, we're here too, give us the mic. They want a world with more than one voice, a multipolar world where they get a say in writing the rules. And to make sure everyone heard them loud and clear, BRICS recently made its biggest, boldest move yet. It decided to get a whole lot bigger. So who got an invitation to the party? We're talking some serious heavy hitters. You've got Saudi Arabia, the oil giant, the UAE, a massive financial hub, Egypt, a crucial bridge between Africa and the Middle East, Ethiopia, one of Africa's fastest growing economies, and Iran, another huge energy player. Make no mistake, this wasn't just about adding new flags, it was about adding some serious geopolitical muscle. And the impact of this expansion is, well, it's huge. Just by bringing in these new members, the expanded BRICS bloc now controls over 40% of the entire world's oil production. 40%! That gives them incredible leverage over energy markets, and it transforms them from just an economic club into a true global force to be reckoned with. So what do they actually do? They're systematically building their own alternative system. They've got their own version of the World Bank called the New Development Bank to fund their own projects. They've created a $100 billion financial safety net to help each other out. And maybe most importantly, they're pushing hard to trade more in their own currencies, a direct challenge to the reign of the US dollar. But, and this is a really big but, it is not all smooth sailing. For all its growing power, this alliance is far from a perfect union. If you look closely, you start to see some pretty deep cracks in the foundation. The biggest crack of all is the rivalry between its two most powerful members, India and China. These two aren't just neighbors, they're major strategic competitors. They have ongoing tensions at their border and are locked in a fierce race for technological supremacy. That tension sits right at the very heart of the entire bloc. And that recent expansion, it just added another layer of drama. Now you have Saudi Arabia and Iran, two historic rivals in the Middle East, sitting at the same table as partners. It raises a massive question. Can these two longtime adversaries really, truly work together inside the same alliance? And that really gets to the core of the issue. In many ways, BRICS is a coalition of convenience. Unlike an alliance like NATO, they don't share a common culture or political system or even geography. They are totally united by what they're against, Western dominance, but they are pretty divided by their own individual goals and interests. Okay, so why should you care about all this geopolitical maneuvering? Simple. Because whether you realize it or not, this is going to directly shape the world you live in, study in, and work in.
Your future job market is going to have exciting new industries popping up across all the BRICS nations. Your educational opportunities might expand with more scholarships and exchanges with universities over there. And the big diplomatic decisions that shape our world, they won't just be hammered out in Washington or Brussels anymore. They'll be made in New Delhi, Beijing, and Sao Paulo, too.
What we are watching right now in real time is history being made. The era where one single superpower basically called all the shots, that's fading. We are entering a new multipolar world with many different centers of power, and BRICS is right at the heart of that change.
All of this brings us to the final and, the most important question about where all this power is headed. So what's it going to be? Will this alliance actually manage to rewrite the rules of the world and become the new voice for the global South? Or will all those internal rivalries and competing interests cause the whole thing to just collapse under its own weight? We don't know the answer yet, but one thing is absolutely for sure. BRICS is no longer just an acronym. It's a potential blueprint for the future.